or you need to, spend calories, because a calorie is a calorie. It doesn't matter what you eat. You can keep eating sugar. Yeah, it's good for you. You need it for energy as long as you go to the gym. And if you fail, that's your fault. To me, the fitness solution didn't bring any results. We have more and more fitness. We have more and more coaches, more and more Instagram, influencer, YouTube, whatever you want. What is the result? More and more people are sick, fat, obese, diabetic.
Clement, how did you find carnivore?
Good morning, Dave. I'm very happy to be here. And allow me to change your questions. I would say how carnivore found me. Uh, well, I think like many people, I've experienced some changes around 35 years old. And my job is being a personal trainer. I've been doing that job for 15 years, since I was 22, 21 years old. So I've been involved into sports and physical activity for a long time, since I was 5 years old. Highly competitive, 4 or 5 trainings a day. So once I came into the training, the personal training side, of course, when I was taught the calories in, calories out theory, that this is what I would preach to my clients. If most people are coming to trainers to lose weight, so I was just exercise. It's easy. Look at me, right? So I wouldn't doubt about that theory, as I was training a lot. I was doing a lot of track and field, triathlon, and I would not put on weight, even though I would eat a lot. Carbs, of course, because you need energy to be, to perform. And then around 35, I started to gain weight. And I was like, okay, maybe it's because I just didn't train as much. And then after 8 kilos, like probably 18 pounds, but it was mainly fat around the waist. So at some point I was like, okay, that is too much. Let's change that. So I'll just go sign up in a gym, train every day, and probably in a month and a half, I'll be gone like before. Guess what? It wasn't gone. After a month and a half? No, it wasn't gone after 3 months. It wasn't gone after 5 months. Like nothing have changed. And I was like, what's wrong? I was training 2 hours every day. And I'm a trainer, so I was like, how come that possible? I know the methods, right? So I would do an hour high intensity resistance training. Then I would go on the treadmill, etc. But anyway, and then I found a Jordan Peterson about the carnivore diet, about his daughter. Okay, and the next video came. It was Dr. Paul Mason, and it's a famous video called "Are You Smarter than Your Doctor?" And in that video, he was explaining the mechanism, the physiological mechanism that actually blocks the oxidation of fat when your insulin is high. And I was like, is that what's happening with me? So then I started to study a little bit more through these videos. And then I said, okay, I will change the experiment. Let's not go to the gym. Let's not spend any calories for the next months. But at the same time, let's not eat any carbs. I mean, let's reduce the sugar significantly, which I did. And a month later, I had 4 kilos less. Probably mainly water first, right? So at that time, that was October 2022. I was because I've been doing personal training for 15 years, but I've been doing massage therapy for about 8 years, right? And my master is in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. So I was going there, and when I go to Thailand, I like to train probably about 2 hours every day Muay Thai. So of course I lost weight. I went into that transition without exercising, so I was fine. I was feeling great. I was losing the weight I wanted to lose, and I was listening all these videos about the ketogenic carnivore approach. Then I went to Thailand for a month and a half to study next to my master. But the next experience was, oh, now I'm gonna go and train without carbs. And to me, psychologically, it was a complete unknown experience. Why? Because my dad was a professional marathon runner. In 1985, he ran 2 hours 13 minutes in France. So he was one of the top French runner at the time. 104 on the half marathon. So I grew up into this kind of environment where you need to eat a lot of carbs, and he was himself, taught the carbo loading. So to me, before that, going for training without eating or without carbs, I would even cancel the training. I would go, there's no way I would go. I mean, there's nothing I would get out of that. But Muay Thai is very intense. Probably know what's Muay Thai is. And I was like, how am I going to deal with 2 hours intense kicking, and then I went. 2 hours later, I was fine. I was like, that's it. Okay. And every day I would go, I would feel even better and better and better, to the point that the guy had to stop me and say, oh, the training is finished now. And I was like, really? No, I need to do more. I'm not tired. Right. So anyway, and then I was talking to my master, the massage therapy master in Thailand, and he had colon cancer before. So now he could only eat mainly animal product, a little bit of rice, but he was reduced to this, right? So I was starting to connect the dots. I was like, okay. And back to my dad, there's something I also want to share. When he was 63, he still ran the half marathon in 1 hour 21, or 1 hour, yeah, 1 hour and 20, which is quite amazing if you think 63, 1 hour 21. It's like, so this guy has always trained. There was no one single morning he wouldn't wake up at 6 and go for a run for 15 or 20K. He has never stopped running, training. So he has never gained weight, in a sense. But then he came in 2021, where I live in Switzerland. And in Switzerland, you can hike a lot because it's a mountain country. So we would leave my place by, let's say, 8 to go for a hike around 10. He would wake up at 6, have a breakfast, bread, honey, and everything. And around probably 9, as I was driving to that place, I would see him going like, in the car. Like, and I would go, are you sleeping? He would go, no, I woke up early this morning. I'm like, yeah, like 3 hours ago. And I started to think, oh, there's something wrong. I don't know. I was a bit, So 2 months later, he did you call it in English, I think, transient ischemic accident. They found that he has a lot of arrhythmia. He was doing a lot of sleep apnea. So of course, That could be a lot of factors. But to me, remembering the fact that he was like, going like this, afterwards, when I started to study this whole physiology and, you know, insulin resistance and everything, I was like, okay, probably this guy has eaten a lot of carbs all his life. He was probably a low insulin producer. He has never gained weight. And the amount of sports he was doing maybe somehow kind of protected a little bit. I don't know. I'm not sure about it, but yeah, kind of balance. But to which extent, I'm not sure. But then, yeah. So you think of a guy like that, for me, as his son, looking at him, oh, he's great, he's healthy, he has never eaten a lot of fat, never eaten a lot of salt. He has trained all his life, high endurance athlete. And then you see this guy waking up and 3 hours later going like this, right? And at some point doing this ischemic accident. So, and that was at the same time I was like going into my new discovery with the ketogenic and carnivore diet. So it made a lot of sense to me, because I'm a logical person. I need to understand, and if it makes sense, I go for it. I try. So then I decided to study a little bit more, and I got certified with the Team Knox Institute, the nutrition network in South Africa. So I did the whole LCHA nutrition certification, metabolic health practitioner, which I recommend to anyone to do, either for professional matters or for your own, knowledge. If you want to speak to people about it, I think it's very accessible and interesting. So, okay, now I'm very convinced. It's been about now today when I'm speaking, it's been a year and a half. I've been progressively more and more carnivore, like from just animal based, like dairy, fish, and meat, to meat and fish to meat. Mainly, the only plant I have trouble to remove is to drink the mate, the Argentinian mate.
Oh, is that like a coffee or something?
Yeah, it's a form of plants, and you just sip the water out of it. Um, I've been trying to stop, but probably somehow there's some addictive substance for sure, and so far I couldn't remove it. So now I have that knowledge, that experience. I was trying for the last, let's say, year, but yeah, 6 7 months, to share it with clients. And that was also another experience, because when you do it for yourself, you speak to your friends, your family. All right, that's fine. People might say, well, what you do, I don't believe in it. I think this is too much, etc. Now, when you speak to clients, it's a different thing, because people are listening to you. So there is one ear that kind of accept the authority in a way, and the other ear is like resisting to it. And it's very interesting. I've noticed that the clients who are the most open to it, and we're trying to understand it, it's more or less the same profile all the time. They're mostly engineers, IT, or director people. Not everyone, of course, but I found this is kind of redundant. Like, you explain to them, they go, yeah, it makes sense. And then they go look for the information, they process it, and they apply it. That's from my own experience. Maybe other people would say something else. So, but I came into a place where I had to understand that especially talking about carnivore, is a very sensitive topic with clients. Because when you speak about nutrition, and Professor Tim Noakes said that once, he said nutrition is like religion. And at first I thought, yeah, it's just the way you communicate, maybe, it's also important. But no, he was absolutely right. Whatever the way you communicate, people hear one message, they process it, they interpret it in a way that will have a complete different meaning based on their experience, the culture, the religion, the identity. I remember a guy, he was a very social guy, the going out all the time, a lot of friends, uh, wine drinker, restaurant. And then he was asking me for advice through the nutrition area. And I was like, just reduce the carbs, the sugar, and maybe that will be a good start. He said, I don't eat sugar. I'm like, you eat pasta, you drink alcohol. Yeah, yeah, of course. I have my aperitif. I said, okay, well, all of that is sugar. He's like, oh, you're telling me that I should stop my aperitif. So for him, it was, you're killing my social life. So you come to a point when you advise it as a professional, as a health coach, let's say it this way, you have to consider that barrier between what makes sense and what people are experiencing or where they are. There was a woman, she had some issues, and she was telling me that she was eating pasta every day. And she said, I don't eat sugar. I said, well, yes, you do. How? I said, well, you're eating pasta every day, right? And then she said something very interesting. Well, when people, are very spontaneous, it's very interesting to hear some expression. She said, if you remove the pasta from me, you will kill me. And I said, I don't think I will kill you, but maybe at some point, maybe pasta might kill you. So anyway, and also had another form of experience through that is that people who kind of get assaulted, like they feel judged because you talk about, as a massage therapist, I know many techniques to release the pain, to get your syndrome away. Frozen shoulder, plantar fasciitis, great success. But once it's coming back, and I can see that your body type is not what it should be, that you have extra fat on you, maybe 10, 15 kilograms. It doesn't take a PhD in physics to understand that that excess amount of pressure on your joints, cartilage, and everything will have some effect. So, yeah, I can do my little massage, my techniques, great. And then you move your knee around and you say, wow, I don't feel anything anymore. Wow, you're so good. Thank you. Okay. And 2 weeks later, you're coming back. Yeah, the pain still it's back again. And for me, because I'm looking for solutions and efficient solutions, if you go away without the pain and you don't come back, great. If you keep going back 2 times, 3 times, and some treatment, they you need 3 to 4 sessions. But when you come back to the same point, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I'm like, okay, what's the cause of it? Because what I'm doing doesn't work. So I'm trying to address people in a way they can save time. And I have nothing to win. I'm not selling any product. I'm just giving you free information. So, but people feel, oh, he's telling me I'm fat, right? So, and then they might complain sometime without understanding that I'm trying to help them. And for me, yeah, of course, I'm just telling you, okay, the cause of your knee issue could be that you have 15 kilograms. And then I think that we all have a body weight that is more or less genetically programmed. I've been around 70 kilogram for almost all my life. And then when I gained weight, I went up to 79. I mean, so now after a year and a half carnivore, went back to 72 with a lot more muscle mass. So again, you go back to your, I think, genetic programmed weight. So that has been a very interesting turn in my career and the way I do it. Because before I would just be very arrogant, like, yeah, the guy is telling me he's going to exercise. He has exercised, but there is no way he did exercise because the proof he doesn't lose any weight. And then when it
A-
happened to me, I was like, okay, that was a slap in the face. Now I do. Oh, and just before I move on into other things, there's things that has completely disappeared. I would eat a lot of Caribbean dish with a lot of spices and like you said chili pepper, and I would have a lot of hemorrhoids more and more as I would move on, through age. Like when I was early 30, nothing. 32 started, 34, like every time I would eat, then boom, hemorrhoids. To the point that I had a thrombus, hemorrhoid thrombus. And for about probably 10 years, I would say I would have this very like a needle pain coming like very sharp for, let's say, 4 or 5 seconds around, around here, like all this area. It would move. So I wasn't really worried because it was not at the same time. And just short, 3 seconds, boom, I had to sit and then would be gone. Since I've been carnivore, I've not experienced one single hemorrhoid crisis. I've not experienced this kind of sharp pain. So I do think that was in the colon. And then I started to had a lot of migraines, maybe twice, 3 times a week before I started the ketogenic diet. This has been gone, of course. Yeah, so this was the few things I was experiencing as a. I mean, I had a plantar fasciitis myself as I was gaining weight. I was trying to run, and I had the plantar fasciitis for 2 years. And once I started carnivore, that was the time I was in Thailand. My teacher kind of did a treatment on me, and I was losing weight. So both things I think helped, and it was gone. So
For 2 years you had it. What was that like when it was just suddenly gone? That must have been such a good feeling.
yeah, it was like okay, but I think at some point and that's probably what many people experience. I hear it from clients and patients. You get used to the pain. You try some things, it doesn't work. You go, okay, well, I will adapt. That's why I went from endurance sports into combat sports. I would do wrestling, I wouldn't feel the pain. Muay Thai, I wouldn't feel the pain. But running, 10 minutes, boom, had to stop. So yeah, I think once it's gone, it's like you don't expect it anymore to be gone. Even though you're happy, of course. You go, oh, but since then I didn't run anymore. I don't know. I didn't feel the need to run. So that's how I see now. If we talk about chronic pain, as we were talking about it, I discovered that I was always trying, I went to training. I said, okay, this is a good prevention tool to help people to not be sick. And then after 8 years, I thought, oh, maybe I need another tool. So I went to Thai massage therapy, and that will help people to get released from pain. But then at some point, it works for some things. But then you see people going back to the initial point again. And then you see you working, putting that effort. For a time, people feel relieved, and then go back. And it's a little bit disappointing. And then you look new tools. And then I think all massage therapies, chiropractor, or other forms of therapies, they all sincerely are looking for, the best techniques, the best methods to help. But you actually act into the symptom, because you may have some, okay, let's say someone crossed their leg like this all day long, then the hip will be a little bit, moved. And then they will probably have some issue on the right leg, maybe on the ankle, maybe on the knee, who knows. So this you can correct. It's an outside factor. What about the inside factor? What about the inflammation that comes from inside? And you don't think that vegetables could be the cause. You don't think that rice could be the cause. This kind of thing. So once you start to study it and then you go, oh, okay, let's try to remove it. And then you see clients with eczema. It's gone. The guy couldn't sleep. Now he sleeps like a baby. Okay. Psoriasis, gone. These kind of things like gastrointestinal issues, gone. Pain, just muscle pain, joint pain, gone. You go, oh, maybe I don't need to do massage anymore. you know, wow. So I still do advise people to train. I'm not saying you shouldn't train. It's very important to train, to be physically active, especially in our modern society where people are sitting all day long. But are you training for the right reason? You're training because you want to build muscle mass, you want to keep joint mobility, muscle flexibility, fine. If you train because you want to lose weight, or if you train because you think this will change your life, and you don't look at other factors, well, I think you will just keep turning around the thing.
That's almost what the certainly early on, that's what kind of gyms and fitness clubs were really built on, right? It was like just sweat it out, just run as much as you can and lose that weight, right?
Yeah, and I think I would see the fitness industry as the little brother of the big pharma and the big food, in a sense that before the 80s, maybe not in the US because they're a little bit more advanced in time compared to Europe. But on my own experience in Europe, I grew up in France. Now I live in Switzerland for more than 10 years. You wouldn't have any gyms. Like you would have them, but that would be aerobics, high low and all these step contests. They had competitions for it, world championship and stuff like that. Or bodybuilding. The guys would be on the side, and then you had this floor. They call it the floors, right? Like a little bit bouncing. And the people who would do these sports, it was very specific. Like there would be gymnasts or dancers. And then they had all this choreography and stuff. It wasn't easy to go in a gym and either do bodybuilding or aerobics. And they had all these levels like beginners, intermediate, advanced. If you were a beginner, you couldn't go into the advanced class. It was too fast and too complex. And then all of a sudden, I think more and more people moved to the cities. More and more people in the West started to work in offices, like less manual work, less agriculture work. And then that became all of a sudden, oh, this is the place you need to go and move. Related to back in the 90s, late 80s, or you need to, spend calories. because a calorie is a calorie. It doesn't matter what you eat. You can keep eating sugar. Yeah, it's good for you. You need it for energy as long as you go to the gym. And if you fail, that's your fault, right? And I saw it because I was in France when I started that job. I still saw those old gyms. Like one side was bodybuilding. Most of the guys, they were like very experienced bodybuilders. And then still this aerobic thing. And all of a sudden you had a whole shift that you had all these concept class that came in. I won't, say the name, but probably everybody knows them. Um, so you go in, the class is the same for 3 months, and the teacher, they have to learn the choreography on the DVD. So basically, the creativity you have to learn, I mean, not to learn, but to use, to adapt yourself as a professional to give a class to a certain audience is gone. So they just say, well, get the DVD, be a parrot, and repeat it. Thank you. And you go for 3 months with the same thing. What's the point? What's the point? So I was quickly refusing these kind of things when I entered this industry. They asked me, "Oh, do you want to do that certification?" I said, "No." "Oh, we can pay for it." I said, "No." I said, I didn't go into that field. I didn't study 2 years to teach, to be a teacher, fitness teacher, to repeat someone else's whatever work. So I think they kind of brought that practice into a very mass, oriented audience. And now you have these huge gyms that you can go all day long, even at night, with just a simple card. You don't find much trainers unless they're freelance, so they don't get paid much unless they sell you training sessions. They pay a rent sometime, most of the time, to those gyms, and they need to survive. So they're going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you, yeah, you want to lose weight? Yeah, you need to train. And then the myth is we perpetrate the myth,
Yeah.
the lie.
Yeah. It just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, right?
And then people say, oh, yeah, I decided to start a training session because I want to lose weight and this guy is going to help me. And of course, the guy is not training to nutrition. So for him, maybe he believes the way I did believe before that this is the right way to do it. So I'm not blaming trainers who sincerely believe this is the right way to help their clients. But I'm saying I personally do not believe in that. And I think that when I see the evolution of fitness, of the fitness industry overall, you look at before the 80s, nobody was fat. Go back to the 60s, nobody was, yeah, you would find one obese guy in a village or someone who had a metabolic issue genetically. Yes, but not 8 years old kids. I train people on a stadium around my place, and there is a soccer training for kids 6, 7 years old. I played soccer 8 years when I was younger. Nobody was fat. And I was born in 1986. Like I see all these kids, poor kids, 6, 7, 8 years old. They have a belly. And the parents, they come to pick them up. They have a big belly. And I'm like, where is this going? I'm not, okay, I'm not, like attacking people who gain fat, and probably they're trying to deal with that. But to me, the fitness solution didn't bring any results. We have more and more fitness. We have more and more coaches, more and more Instagram, influencer, YouTube, whatever you want. What is the result? More and more people are sick, fat, obese, diabetic. Doesn't work. And I think, I've studied anthropology, not to a great extent. I stopped after a bachelor, mainly because I didn't like the academia. But I still read a lot about it. So it was social anthropology, it was not biology. But to me, and I will say that, and maybe that will seem contradictory for many people, even though I love my job, I think I do it with a lot of heart and a lot of passion. I think that my job should not exist in a functional society. And actually, if you look very recently, it didn't exist until very recently. So I make a living out of it. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But still, as an anthropologist looking at the society, I'm like, where's self motivation? So people need someone to tell them to, people need to pay someone to tell them, okay, let's go for a walk. Let's do 10 push-ups. Let's do 20 squats, whatever. So me, I'm thinking, how is that? My grandmother, she's 90. When I first tried to explain to her what I was doing, I said, I'm training people. She said, but in which sports? Soccer or rugby? You know, and I was like, now I'm training people to their house. To do what? Yeah. And because that generation, they cannot process it. How do you work with that? How do you make money? They cannot think that someone will pay you to do something.
that traditionally they could have done for themselves.
Well, they're busy in the factory or in the field. They would be active 8, 9, 10 hours a day walking,
mm,
So the need of actually doing fitness wasn't there. And I've been traveling to many countries, like even in Africa, of course, Thailand. In Africa, I've been to Cameroon and Gabon, which are a French country. I recently went to South Africa as well. Depending where you go, people are walking in the street. They still have a lot of physical work in Thailand as well. As soon as you go to the countryside. So it would be a very awkward thing for people to think, let's go into a four-wall thing, lock myself in, and go into a treadmill to walk and sweat, where you can do it outside, So I think the urbanization of our modern lifestyle, the fact that we sit all day, and I think now if I go back to being a trainer and I look at the anatomical lines of the body, biomechanics, we're made to walk. We're made to be up. And when you sit, all your joints are kind of reversed. The lower back is supposed to be like this, but now it's going like this. Everything is kind of turned. So the whole day you sit. You can go an hour to the gym. Will it make any difference? I don't know. It's better than nothing for sure. But and then, as you said, they sell something that is so far from reality. I find that's why I say I think fitness is the little brother of big food and big pharma, as basically, to me, I see it as they're fighting nature. Like, for example, diabetes, don't reduce your carbs, just get this insulin shot. Okay. What about lowering my carbs? Oh, no, just get the medication. And then in the fitness industry, for example, there is something that maybe is not, well, it is related to diet in a way and nutrition. It's I've heard so many people talking about aging. I worked in Canada at some point for 3 years in Montreal in the French part, which was kind of Americanized compared to Europe. But everything that is sold to the public about aging is called anti-aging cream, anti-aging product, pill, whatever it is. So when you talk about anti, you have anti and pro. It's a very sharp line between, like I'm an anti-communist or anti-capitalist. It means you're very against it. So now you're anti-aging. The message is aging is bad. It's a natural process. So
That's a very good point. I've
why would you
never I've
want
never really thought about it like that.
why would you want to fight aging? Because there's no point to fight it. So now people feel bad because they keep receiving these messages that aging is bad. Oh, the beauty of the use and beauty always go together, which is true, of course. But what is the implicit message? That when you get old, if we want to be very simple, all that equals ugly. Maybe, I don't know. And then people, that's what they start to feel. Oh, I feel ugly. Some women, they say that. Men wouldn't say it out loud, but they would say it in a different way sometimes. And they show always older people achieving physical performance as young people. You see this 90 years old guy doing rollerblading, and everybody's like, wow, 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 wow. So the thing is, it seems that the society value the old age as long as they can mimic the young age, right? But what about any other older people who cannot, because they have physical issues, with age? What is the value that the society give them? It seems that in the West, at least, it becomes very difficult to sense or to see. And I remember my great grandfather or my grandfather getting old. They never complained about getting old. It was part of a normal life, normal process. So that's why I think the fitness, after all what we said, didn't bring much. Yeah, it brought a lot of money to those gyms. Membership, I think 60 to 70%, I saw one statistics, comes from people who go once or twice a year.
And so basically 60 to 70% are just donations.
Yeah. Well, you can donate to NGOs, maybe. I don't know. And most and a lot of people, they just pay a membership to go on a treadmill where you can actually go outside, get in contact with nature and walk. And again, I'm doing that job. I love it. I can see that I'm helping people because I reach them to the point that they lost that motivation, psychologically speaking. So basically, they're paying for an appointment. I mean, YouTube is free. Whoever wants to train can go on YouTube and look at any training and basically train. without paying anyone. So what they're looking for is an appointment, someone to listen. That's it. Where's this lack of motivation coming from? Stress, no time, or the perception of no time, certain priorities that we emphasize. And
I wonder if there's also something in the way society has gone that makes people feel like they are more vulnerable than they actually are. So, people feel like if someone's not, they could watch all these tutorials on YouTube and it lays out exactly what they need to do to gain muscle or lose weight or whatever it is. But they want to have a coach, or they want to have a trainer, or they want to have someone there to say, step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this, because it's almost like people have lost their feeling of being independence or autonomy or something like that.
that goes, I think what you said is very correct. And I think it goes with something that many people in the West are experiencing. It's called loneliness. They probably are looking for that because of a lack of independence, but also because of loneliness. It happened to me that I had to stop to train some people because they were so lonely, they would put all their emotions to me. And then, it would be a bit awkward. I'm not talking about, like romantic or anything, but like I see that the person, like you become the only person's focus. And then someone can tell you, oh, I'm doing that for you. And I'm like, ooh, okay, no. So I think, and this is my vision of things, you see all this wellness world where every new method, every new proposition in that field, wellness, well-being, is all about making you feel good, right? Oh, you're not feeling good, so let me take care of you. And I always think of, in Bangkok, many years ago, they had this flood in Bangkok, and then they had all these snakes coming out. What did they do? The firefighters from Bangkok had to learn how to deal with the snake. It's a very dangerous animal. They bite you, you can die. Cobra. But if you're trained, then you know how to handle it because you've been exposed to that obstacle or to that challenge. So being used to face obstacles and challenges will make you stronger because once you see the snake, okay, well, I know how to handle it. Don't worry. If you have never done it, of course you will be stressed, like, whoa, I'm going to die, right? So, and I find that in my generation, again, 1986, I was born, everybody was doing sports. We all were used to face an opponent who wants to beat you, who will come tackle you, like if you do combat sport, make you fall, hit you. Anyway, you can lose, you can win. And it shaped your psychology in a certain way. So whatever happens in life, you've been trained. You know that obstacle will be ahead of you. And okay, I will try to do my best um, to respond to it. But now I think that this whole you need to take care of yourself, you need to think of yourself, which is right in a way, but push to an extreme, make people very weak. And as you say, then they look for motivation, how to be happy, bullet point number 1, bullet point number 2. Really? Like how many thousands of years of philosophy and religion have tried to answer that question? And this new guy with the suit and a tie, and he comes, hey, you know, here's what you need to do. Come on, it doesn't work this way. And I remember in my when I was in high school, nobody was doing fitness or bodybuilding. Or there was one guy. We were 1,300 students in the high school. One single guy was doing it. He had a bench in his garage, and everybody was making fun of him. And he was in my class. He was a classmate. I didn't like the fact that people would make fun of him, so I became friend with him. So I went to his place. He was 15 years old. He had all these muscle and fitness magazines. That was a passion. But everybody made fun of him. And I'm talking about the year 2001. It's not far. My little brother, he's 14 years younger than me. He went to the same high school. So I was older. I would go and pick him up sometimes. And you see all these 15 years old now, all of them almost. They come out and they're all like, like this with those t-shirts, like super tight. And you see that there's no definition. I don't know what they take, just protein, creatine, and something. It's just water, basically. And I was like, huh. And I said to him, how many people are doing actual sports, a competition, It's like, nobody. So you see, 15 years, how we went from
Yeah,
making fun of a guy who's pushing bench press in his garage to now this is the only thing you can do.
it's it's amazing how quickly things change.
My guess is related to Hollywood. Back in the 90s, I used to look at those, thriller movies, and who was the masculine stars? Al Pacino, I'm thinking of Scarface, Robert De Niro, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, and all the rest, The Godfather. They were not like massively, huge and muscular and everything. So these people were dangerous, very kind of, crazy mindset.
Kind of the men you would describe as having character,
Yeah, character, no fear.
charisma or something. Yeah,
Yeah, no fear, and whatever my body is, I will make it. Like very aggressive in a way, but aggressive not because of their physiques, because of their mindset. And I'm not promoting killing people in the street, like in Scarface and stuff, again. But I think these were, as men, if I'm talking about men, they would look at these kind of model. And then slowly and slowly, the beginning of the 2000 years and 2010, you start to see in every movie, whatever the style would be, comedy, romantic, adventure, sci-fi, the masculine hero always come up with no shirt at some point to bake some eggs. I've never baked any eggs topless because the oil can burn your skin. So and then you see these guys like they have this YouTube. Wow, the Wolverine, what's the name, Hugh Jackman transformation, and they praised that as oh, this is crazy. And these guys, you see them 6 months later, and they just look like a grandpa. So I don't know, and it seems that the focus now is like into you need to look alike.
So if you were in charge of health policy in Switzerland, um, and your job is not necessarily to get people moving or that kind of thing. Your job is just to educate them. What would be the key pieces of information you would try and educate people about?
I think I'm a liberal. I'm a liberal in the sense of Adam Smith and the whole heritage of Adam Smith. up to Thomas Sowell. So I'm not a liberal in a sense that people use the word today, right? So for me, individual freedom is very important. I come from a country where we have universal healthcare. I met a lot of people in my life. They would smoke 2 packs a day, and they would tell you, "Well, you have to die from something." That's true. You have to die from something. This is the truth. But why am I supposed to pay for you taking that risk? This is the universal healthcare system. So everybody pays, my tax go into it. And then if you get a cancer, lung cancer, my money will have to basically try, to go all this chemo and very expensive treatment. And your point was, well, I'll do it anyway because you have to die from something. Yeah, do it, but not with my money, please. So I think still people should have the right to do what they want. I would surely advocate for moving more in the sense that people need to build muscle mass to try to prevent sarcopenia, for example. They need to move more to be more, physically active and mobile and everything. But then on nutrition, I mean, we all know how public health is tightly held by some certain way of thinking. So if I would be in charge, yeah, I would probably give a different message. The only thing that I would be a little bit more acting on would be kids. I'm sorry, but when I see a obese kid, my heart goes like, because that kid is already in danger. Like, and I get it. The parents sometimes they are themselves into that position where they cannot stop eating. They cannot stop, like their sugar addiction. So feeding their kid the same way feel them like the guilt is kind of shared. But how do you, as a public policy, when you know all the problems related to obesity or being overweight, physically, metabolically, psychologically, how for later on, because you're going to have a sick population for sure, a way or another. I don't know. I mean, it's very tricky and very touchy to think of public policies that way because, again, it comes in contradiction with individual freedom. But a kid doesn't know. He's 4 years old or 3 years old or 5 years old, and he gets the food from their parents. So I think I would do something around there. So I don't know. It's very, but I do hope that any parents would consider, that issue seriously and not, turn their head and just go, "Oh no, I don't want to talk about it." Because when you see kids, the way they move, they usually naturally have no pain because they move all the time. And when you see a 5 years old who cannot even run 10 meters and they go, and you go, wow, this is sad. This is very sad.
So it's so sad because a kid like that, it's going to grow up feeling that's just normal. They've never known anything else, right?
First of all, yes. And then the other thing is, if at some point they want to change, they will go to the other extreme. and you will see them doing some crazy bodybuilding, taking products. I'm not saying all of them, but I've seen it. Some people, they go from I was fat and obese, now I'm going to be the most, muscular person I can. And whatever it takes me to do it, I'll do it. Again, I back to your point that people, I feel that people are not being helped by any of the public policies. They're not being helped by the fitness industry. And, well, I won't mention big pharma and big food, of course. But how do we help people to grow a stronger mind? And I think back to the carnivore diet, I had a friend, she is a yoga teacher. She unfortunately suffered depression for a long time. She's been on the carnivore diet for 7, 8 months now. She's very stable. She feels strong, and like all the things associated with the meat consumption, and I think feeling strong is really much related to, again, I'm going back to Muay Thai. You look at these fighters. Boxing is a defense sport. You have to avoid the thing, right? Before you try to hit the chin and then the guy goes KO. Muay Thai, you just bring your arms and get hit and get the hit. Boom, boom. And then you see these guys on, any YouTube video. It's so hard and the guy doesn't move. He's like, so what? Because I'm not saying this is healthy, okay? Because a lot of them get issues later on, but it's just a metaphor to say you create the resistance, right? So psychologically, by helping people too much and having them being less and less and less and less independent, how do they know their value? How do they know their strength? It's impossible. So then they feel hopeless. Please help me. Oh, I see this guy, and then I see this woman, and then I see this other person. What about you? You have all the strength available. You're just not connected to it. How do you connect it to it? Not through someone else. Maybe someone else will help you to get it out. So,
But ultimately, you've got to be the one that takes it out, right? Even
yeah,
if someone's helping you, ultimately, you have to do it yourself, right?
yeah, and that's when I think the value of training, personal training, coaching, comes in. But personal trainers who come to you and say, oh, I will train you, I will help. This is words. How do you actually implement it?
Kind of
And
hold my hand, right?
yeah, hold my hand, don't get far away from me, please report everything to me, and etc., etc. The way the simple thing that might seem silly, but it's the thing. People start training with me. I say, okay, you're going to do, let's say, 20 repetition of that exercise. I don't count for them. And then they go, and as they go, they get tired. And they go, did you count? I'm like, no. And they go, I say, yeah, you have to count. You have to get used to count your exercise. Otherwise, as long as you do, I'm just watching you. Next set, they rest. Next one, I tell you, they will be counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15. This is 15. Okay, right. So 2 minutes. Now they take charge of their training. I don't want to be a guru. I don't want to be someone who you look at me like this. My main, if I say spiritual master, which he would hate me to say that, is Krishnamurti. Be your own student and your own master. And if you understand Krishnamurti, really, you don't even need to listen to him anymore. You know, the most complex thing is the most simple thing. I see these trainers, they invent all these crazy, fancy exercises. And then you go, for what? People are not even coordinated to complete them properly. Yeah, you are a 25 years old guy. You've been training yourself a lot to perform that exercise, and this is what you show. A trainer should be able to come under his client, which is very low sometimes, and try to stay under as you push the client. Don't be on top and just come and say, yeah, I'm the trainer, I'm better than you. Because people feel that. They feel these kind of things. You know, and I think now with the social media, the Instagram and everything, a lot of trainers used to be ex-athletes in one or other sports. So they have done the competition. Then they come into training. They are able to help. It's about helping, right? But now they start very young to the point that they haven't had any competition record or any athletic records. I'm not talking about going to the Olympics. You don't have to go to the Olympics per se, but just, you know, doing a sports for 10 years or something. And then they want to show that they have credentials by doing some fitness exercise. Please give me a break. If you want to be a sports icon, go to the Olympics. Train yourself, go to the Olympics, make it to the gold medal, then you come back. When it comes to health, of course, many factors are important. You have the nutrition, for sure, that will play a major part. You have your stress management, that will be another key factor. Physical activity, moving, but moving means moving. You can just go for a walk every day, 45 minutes. You can do some 20 minutes mobility routine every morning, just moving, you know? And yeah, health is your own responsibility. Nobody will eat except yourself. You know, you choose to put certain things in your mouth. You can hear many things, but at the end of the day, you choose to put things in your mouth. You choose to go for a walk. You choose to do this mobility routine or do this resistance training program. So I really hope that at some point, this whole health, preventive health, and I think that the ketogenic and carnivore community is doing the proper job, is doing the prevention, is doing, you know, like the consciousness of, and you see it in many of the comments on the videos on different podcasts. I got my life back, which means I'm now in charge of my life. When you are under 10 medications or, you know, or you're sick, you're in charge of nothing. So I'm happy to see that that community is bringing that awareness. And I hope that this will be something that will be, yeah, more and more available for people, for the audience, for the public.
Yeah, I hope so too. So Clement, how can people reach out to you?
Um, I can surely give my. I have an email, so I'm based in Switzerland, and I can surely do some online coaching for preventive health or even training online programs. And I started a YouTube podcast channel recently last week called Carnivore Renaissance. Whoever wants to contact me, they can through the email, or they can watch the podcast and the different guests I'll have in the near future. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll link to those below.
Thank you.
Um, and Clement, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and also sharing so much wisdom with us. Thank you.
Well, I hope it will help some people. And I want to thank you, Dave, for your work. I think it's a very valuable thing that you give that space for people to share, because for many people, in a way, you do some personal training as you listen, because people need to speak, they need to express what they're going through, and going from a sad diet, sad life, to a light, strong life, carnivore life, or ketogenic life, it changes a lot of emotions for them, and many people need to speak about it. So I really encourage you to continue, and I think your work is very, very much valuable.